Hey y'all, it is Nomadic Shaman here. Thank you for visiting my page. Today's video, I want to focus on ancestors, y'all. Um, so then let's start. I'm going to talk about old soul. I want to talk about ancient soul. I want to talk about spiritual ranking, and I want to talk about royal bloodlines. So to start, let's talk about old soul. Old soul is incarnation multiple times over. Ancient soul, this is what my spiritual team showed me. Ancient soul is not only a soul who has incarnated multiple times over, the variation from that, an old soul is an ancient soul. It could be connected to spiritual ranking, whether high or low. Also connected to being created at the beginning of time. And some people may argue, well, what's the beginning of time? Time doesn't exist. Or all souls were created at the same damn time. Okay, let me not lose focus. But all souls were created at the same time. And even though that does hold truth on a certain plane of consciousness, to add to it, ancient souls not only have incarnated multiple times over, and have been created. Yes, they were created at the beginning of time. And yes, all souls were created at the same time. However, not all souls incarnated at the same time. And when I say an incarnation, I'm specifically saying making the choice to incarnate and choose where they incarnate, how they incarnate, meaning what type of form they take up. And also chose, I don't want to say time, but what I will say is they selected the choice to detach from source in the sense of not being all knowing and all seeing. So detaching from that in order to gain experience by way of or via an expression of God, a different expression of God depending on the form that was selected. And that form could be a tree. That form could be children. That form can be animals. That form can be extraterrestrial. That form can be spirit guides. That form can be angels even. Okay? Because all of these different forms and expressions of God are not all knowing and all seeing. Okay? That source right there, that source. And what I shared with you are different variations of incarnation, okay? But just taking up space in different forms. And so that happens, I don't want to say time, so I'll say in different planes of existence. And that's what I mean by the beginning of time, okay? I hope that makes sense in how I explained it, because it can be complex. But this is what my spiritual team showed me. If we're talking about spiritual ranking, not everybody is ranked high spiritually. You know, that comes with wisdom. That comes with different experiences. That comes with knowledge by way of different experiences. That comes with lessons, mastering lessons, remembering self, mastering self. This is what plays into spiritual ranking, okay? Meaning having a lot of experiences under your belt, but not only having a lot of experiences, but overcoming the lessons to the point where you've mastered, okay? You're on the mastery level and you've just moved up. And so essentially that's what it means. If you have seen somebody who has experienced one thing after another, that's because in their contract, their soul contract, they wanted to level up, okay? And they wanted to level up quickly. So they were given opportunities to master self, especially someone who seemingly went through or experienced a lot of different stuff within their lifetime. And that's for an accelerated soul growth to level up in ranking. Okay. Now, if I talk about royal bloodlines, similarly to spiritual ranking, as far as, high spiritual ranking or low spiritual ranking, everybody's not royal, meaning like everybody doesn't come from a royal bloodline. And when I say royal bloodline, more specifically, it comes from a royal cosmic lineage. So royal soul group, ether group spiritually. Okay. Same thing as, I guess, cosmic lineage. All right. And if I were to simplify it and group it into categories as far as what will make somebody a descendant of a royal cosmic lineage, that is usually due to unique spiritual gifts, a specialized mission and or purpose, and also a role of leadership, both in the spirit, and it may not even manifest in the physical, but I'm talking about in the spirit. And if they did manifest in the physical, then it would show up in one way or another in the physical. And an example of that could be somebody that is on YouTube in the spiritual sector and is leading or ushering and elevating a lot of souls. Okay. And they don't even have to be in the spiritual work in the spiritual sector, but it's something along those lines. Okay. They don't even have to be in public, but it's essentially ushering and helping, assisting and ushering and elevating a lot of souls, huge amount of souls tasked with that. And so that's where the leadership component comes in. So to simplify it, that is what being part of a royal bloodline is. An example, Jesus, okay, Muhammad, Buddha. Those would be certain, examples of that. Now, the next part that I want to talk about is ancestors, ancestral wealth. Now, I did touch on this topic in 2 videos where I spoke on spiritual inheritance as well as initiates and initiations in those 2 videos. Okay, I touched on that. But if we think about ancestral wealth, this is where your power comes from, literally through your veins. This applies both cosmically and, genetically, where your talents, your abilities, your gifts, your skill sets, your ancestors gifted those to you, okay? As well as your intuition, your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding, your intelligence. These are gifted to you through your ancestors who vicariously live through you, in you, by way of DNA, both cosmically and physically, okay? Now, as the other part of it is that I wanted to touch on with as it relates to ancestors is, you'll hear, or I've heard, people only working with their high vibrational ancestors. And I get it. And yes, that should be the standard, especially if that's something that's discussed with your spiritual team. I'm not here to tell anybody different, but I know that there's other people there, along with myself, whose mission is to work with low vibrational ancestors. And when I say low vibrational ancestors, specifically souls who have transitioned or passed over and are looking to elevate spiritually. Okay. Meaning while here, they were running amok, running crazy up in these streets in their low, eating as many low vibrational plates as possible. I mean, just think of the badass kid. They were running like that, okay? And things didn't hit them until they crossed over and they were like, I need to get right. And so people who have a similar mission or purpose as myself in that regard, assist people, souls who have crossed on the other side and help them elevate spiritually, but they have to be willing to do the work. And there are conversations that are had, your spiritual team, their spiritual team, to see if it's a good fit for both you and them. Okay, so of course, there's a lot of conversations that are going on to assist those low vibrational, ancestors, at least how they operate, as well as, speaking to their higher self and your higher self. Okay. And I know myself and even my cousin, who's also, she's in similar spiritual work because she provides services that I don't, and vice versa. But I know within our bloodline, the two of us work with spirits who have passed over. Okay. Now, in that regard, assisting ancestors who have transitioned and are looking to elevate spiritually. Okay. Master certain lessons that they weren't able to on the physical plane. So I wanted to touch on that, but it's not for everybody. Understandably so. Different type of work, y'all. But anyways, so moving on. So that part I want to share. Another part that I wanted to bring to light is you'll often hear folks say, you often hear folks, not even folks say, but experience feeling like the black sheep in their family, meaning like they don't feel connected to their family, feel not morally, not as it relates to values, beliefs, none of that. And more than likely, because that's not your family, at least cosmically, that's not part of your cosmic lineage. However, your role is to help save those souls. And I don't want to say save as like, somebody putting on Superman cape, like I'm gonna save you, don't save her. I don't want to say that, but it operates like that, where you're the standout, you're the black sheep. They don't move like you do, more than likely not more than likely, but you were placed and appointed in that position because you hold a high spiritual ranking, and your job is to assist them to elevate either through your presence or through your absence. You see what I'm saying? But help them to make that shift. Okay. The same would go towards having children with somebody who's low vibrational. And therein lies again, you've been appointed that mission or that purpose to elevate someone's bloodline by way of you having children with them. Now, the other part that I want to say was as it relates to ancestral wealth. And as I mentioned before, that's where your gifts come in. Your gifts, your skill sets, your talents, your abilities. That's where it comes in, right? And the one component as far as that is what I've learned and discovered in my work, working with the other side, is that gifts can be stripped and are stripped. And when I say that is, let's say you have a family who is used to, let's say, doing spell work, and they're great with divination, they're great with manifestation, they're great with, protection. They're great with healing. And then all of a sudden, they got to struggle. They got to do twice the work, 3 times, 4 times the work to get the same level of effectiveness. Their gifts have been stripped. Their protection, their ability to heal, their ability to do divination, their ability to manifest, if I didn't say that before, have been stripped. And I've realized that ancestors on the other side, a lot of them will get fed up if they see that their family on the earthly plane is running amok and deviating so far from their path. I'm talking about if it looks like killing, murdering, raping, if it looks like committing spiritual crimes to the point where they're taking innocent lives, if it looks like trafficking, and ancestors on the other side who were once providing protection, healing, getting them out of situations, if they come to the altar and provide offerings, now all of a sudden that shit's being cut off, is because they are no longer in alignment or agreement of what their family is doing down here up in these streets, in these earth streets. Because they had an agreement that, no, this is what we doing. This is the game plan. You decided to veer left. Now that you chose to veer left and we've given you multiple chances, we've given you multiple lifetimes to redeem yourself, and yet you're still going left instead of acting right, we cutting you off. And sometimes what that will look like is you are in spiritual jail where your gifts aren't as strong, they're dwindling, they don't work. You're having to go to somebody else to do the work. You're having to steal energy. This is where destiny swapping comes in, because the people who have to destiny swap, and I'm talking about the people who got souls or had souls at one point, who have to destiny swap. That tells me that they were cut off from their ancestors on the other side. That's what that tells me, without fully tapping into finding out what happens. If they have to steal by way of destiny swap to gain energy, to be able to manifest, to protect themselves, to be able to divinate, that means they've been put on timeout. And your first line of defense is your ancestors before anybody else comes in. That's your first line of defense, protection, healing, manifestation, your ancestors, okay? Now, so not only did I find out that your ancestors will walk away from you, and what that will translate on the physical realm is spiritual jail, where nothing you do on your own will get you up out of your situation. So then you steal, they'll just leave you be. I also discovered that just like your ancestors who will leave you be, your higher self will leave you be and check up the deuces. And some people may be like, I don't believe that. And whatever, that's your prerogative. You ain't got to believe it. You ain't got to believe me. I'm telling you what I know. But what I'm saying is, and I say that because of my experiences where people who were physically living, their higher selves have come to me, wanting to work with me to assist them in some way, form, or fashion, either while they're living and or when they transition, because they're done with working with them because they don't know how to act, or they don't know how to act, they're acting reckless, or for some higher selves, it could be something as simple as deviating from your path, where if you don't stay in alignment of your spiritual path, you're higher. And I'm not saying this for all. I'm just saying in the circumstances where I've communicated with certain people's higher selves, is they will cut them off and not work with them. And for some reason, some reasonings was due to not staying on path of their north node, deviating way too much. And they don't, and the crazy thing is, it's not based off of one lifetime. It's usually based off of multiple lifetimes. So it could be like, man, this is the 50th lifetime we done gave this guy an opportunity or this girl an opportunity, and they still, I'm done, you know? And so just like ancestors will cut you off in the spirit, higher selves will cut you off in the spirit. And that can look, again, like physically. On the earth plane, you fend for yourself. You are in an endless state of spiritual jail, which could evolve into depression, but I'm not even trying to go there. But you are in an endless cycle of purgatory on the physical plane, spiritual jail. No matter what you do, how you try, it ain't gonna work. Okay. Now, let me see what else. So I thought that was not interesting. I thought that was interesting. Okay. Because I always thought that, your higher self, y'all locked in like this. And for many, that could be the case. But I also learned for many, that's also not the case. Okay. Some will deuces and be out. So I'm going to share some of my downloads here. Okay. Share some of my downloads. Okay. So y'all give me a second. One thing is, if you're an ancient soul, if you're an old soul, more oftentimes than not, you got a team of Pookie and them. And some of y'all may know what I mean when I say that. And for those that don't, I'm just saying you have ancestors on the other side that will go the left-hand path for you when you are wronged or to come to your defenses because for whatever reason, you don't want to get your hands dirty or they don't want you to get your hands dirty. So they'll do the work for you. So more than likely, if you are an old soul, an ancient soul, you got a team of low vibrational ancestors. But they go low for the right reasons. And the right reasons is for you and your protection and your peace of mind. Okay. Angels, demons alike. More than likely, if you ancient, you got demon ancestors and you got angels that will get down with the get down. One of my favorite readers says that. Okay. So I wanted to mention that. The other part, this is going to be in my last part. One thing that I've also learned is a part of, when I was speaking on ancestors will chuck up the deuces and be out. In the same breath, this has happened to me, or shall I say for me. Individuals who have wronged me, their ancestors have come to me. They were supposed to be for them, but have come to me to, one, be part of my protection, be part of my team, wanting to be part of my team, wanting to be my ally, wanting to be part of my spiritual protection. in gifting me the gifts that they had, right? Um, some ancestors will do that. Some ancestors, at least in my experience, the one who have come against me, wronged me for any particular type of reason, will come to me and tell me knowledge about said person. So they do that too. They do that too in the spirit, where they'll come to you and they'll communicate to you what's been going on with their particular family member, especially if they're in the wrong and their ancestor ain't having it or has had enough of it. Okay. So that's happened to me in both instances where they come to me and they tell me up all of their personal business. And or they come to me, want to be part of my team, wanting me or gifting me their gifts. Okay. And then something else, oh my gosh, something else just came to mind and just slipped just like that. It was about gifts. Watch me remember it when I leave. Maybe I wasn't supposed to say it because when that happens, that means spirit don't want me to say it. But anyways, so that wraps up my video. That wraps up my video for today. So I'll see you on the other side, y'all. All right. Peace. I'm out.